Yo, what's up guys? JDOG here, bringing you guys another video, and in today's video, what we're going to be doing is a tier list. That's right guys, we're going to be looking at all 12 CDL teams and ranking them from top to bottom heading into stage 1. Now, just a heads up, if you're watching this around the time this video goes live, this is before any official league matches that actually count for anything have taken place. We did get to see these teams play one match each in the Kickoff Classic, so most of what these predictions are going to be based on is what we saw out of those teams in the Kickoff Classic, as well as some other things sprinkled in from various social media, YouTube videos, and Twitch streams. Now, if you're not familiar with a tier list, basically how we're going to do this is we're going to divide all 12 CDL teams into these 5 tiers. The S tier up top is going to be reserved for the very best teams in the league. A for above average, B is about average, C a little below, and then down here I'm going to rename this to the D tier, and this final tier is going to be reserved for the worst teams. And with all that out of the way guys, let's jump right into the video, and we're going to start off with a fan favorite, one of the most popular teams in the league right now, the Atlanta FaZe. Now, if I were to have done this list before the Kickoff Classic, I would have easily put Atlanta FaZe up here in this S tier. I think they're one of the best teams in the league in terms of their roster. On paper, absolutely insane. Simp, Abizi, Celium, Arcides, 4 of the best players in the world, hands down, one of the most talented rosters in the league. And when you're talking about a brand new game, a brand new league, the first couple of events generally tend to go the way of the teams that are more mechanically gifted, the teams that have the better raw gun skill. Not everybody has kind of learned the game at the same pace. Not everybody's figured out everything. And generally speaking, as the events go on throughout the season, people tend to learn more and more, and then that gap kind of closes. It was a shock to me to see Atlanta FaZe lose their opening match to Florida. It was a very close match, and I don't want to take anything away from Florida. They looked really good, but in terms of where I think Atlanta FaZe is right now, I don't think they've hit their peak. I think they're kind of struggling right off the bat. I'm going to drop them down from the S tier to the A tier. I think they're really good, and I do think they'll eventually get to this S tier, but because they lost that match, and they just kind of looked like they were a couple steps behind from where I expected them to be, I'm going to put them in the A tier. Now on to the Dallas Empire. I think this is a no-brainer, an easy S tier team. They are the defending champions from last season, and from everything that we've seen from them in terms of scrims, their match against New York in the Kickoff Classic, hot 3-0, they look like they're clicking on all cylinders, and I really expect this team to be at the top competing for championships at every single event throughout the season. Florida is an interesting team. Again, I think I probably would have had them maybe in this B tier or maybe towards the bottom of this A tier before they played FaZe, but they played really well. I really like their roster. I think Awakening is here to stay. I really like what I've seen from Skies, and my God, Neptune's debut in the CDL, he looks like he's going to be around for a while too. So I think I have to put them at least on par with Atlanta in this A tier. I'm really interested to see if Florida continues to progress and get better, or if they're one of these teams that's just starting off hot and then will get worse as the season goes on. London Royal Ravens. Man, I really don't know what's going on with the London Royal Ravens this year. I didn't know what to expect from them last year, but I thought they gave us some really good matches and some really competitive matches against the top tier of competition. And for a team that didn't win a single event last year, they were still very competitive. I definitely would put them above average last year. And I don't know what's going on with their roster right now. There's rumors that they're going to make some roster moves, potentially changing who's starting going into stage 1. I didn't like what I saw from them in the Kickoff Classic. I thought they were going to beat Paris 3-1. I thought that they would definitely take the respawns, maybe lose the searches. Turns out Paris ended up taking the respawns from them, and they ended up winning the series. So London right now, unfortunately, I really liked what we saw from them last year, but with that big roster turnover, I'm going to have to put them in the bottom D tier for now. Los Angeles Guerrillas. Okay, so Los Angeles, I feel like they're a B team. They could be a C team for me. In terms of what we saw from them in the Kickoff Classic, a very close match. They barely beat Seattle 3-2. I really liked what they did with their roster moves in the offseason. I was really surprised that they were able to keep up with Seattle in terms of the slaying, but I think that bodes well for them. They're definitely a team that I'm going to keep my eye on as these matches actually play out. But for right now, I'm going to put them right here, a little below average in the C tier. Now on to a brand new team in the CDL this year, the Los Angeles Thieves. I think they're a B tier team for me right now. After seeing their match against Optic Chicago, I can't really put them in the A or S tier. I think they're very talented, but they got 3-0'd. They didn't look like they were on Optic's level. I do really like their roster and Slasher as a leader, but if history's taught us anything, Slasher-led teams tend to start off slow and then get better and better after every event. So right now I'm going to put them in the average tier, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see them in A or S towards the end of the year. Minnesota Rocker, I think, is probably one of the closest teams to the middle of the pack as you can get. They won their match against Toronto 3-2. It was like a round 11, game 5. Very, very tight. I think they have a talented enough roster to go about 500 in the league, but I don't think they have enough talent to compete with the teams above them up in the A and the S tier. They can definitely steal a match here and there, but in terms of actually competing for titles and really making a run at playoffs, I don't see Minnesota doing that this year. The New York Subliners, I definitely think they're probably an average team with Zuma, but since they don't have Zuma now, I think I have to put them down here in the bottom tier with the London Royal Ravens. I did like what we saw out of the debut of Diamond Con. I think the addition of Clayster in the offseason is very important for this team, but they got 3-0'd by Dallas Empire. They did not look like they were in sync. I know they didn't have hardly any practice time, so maybe by the time their stage 1 matches come around, they've had more and more practice. They'll look a lot better, but I can't really put them higher than this D tier after seeing them look really several steps behind in their match against Dallas in the Kickoff Classic. Now on to the green wall. I think Optic Chicago is a 100% lock for an S tier team right now. They gave the LA Thieves a hot 3-0. They looked like they were on another level, and I think arguably they are the best respawn team in the game right now. And I really think that they're going to live or die by search and destroy this year. If they can win their search and destroys, I think Optic Chicago has a real shot at winning several events this year. My only real question with Optic Chicago right now is, will they stay in this S tier as that knowledge gap of the game continues to shrink? Once teams get more and more reps in, more scrims, more events, they have more VODs to look at, that raw skill gap is going to decrease, and the teams that are going to rise up to that S tier are going to be the teams that put more time, effort, and studying into the game. We know Scump, Formal, Envoy, Dashy, very mechanically gifted, talented players, but are they going to be willing to work together to put in all that time and effort into staying at the top tier of competition? Who knows? I think they have a shot at it, but we'll have to wait and see. Paris Legion surprised me a little bit in their match against the Royal Ravens. I probably would have had them at the bottom of the league, down here in the D tier. After seeing what they did, I think they're definitely a little better than that. I'm not saying they're a great or even an average team in the league right now, but I do think they're better than I previously thought. They surprised me with how they competed in the respawns against London, and I don't know if that was just London really underperforming for me or if Paris has a shot to actually pull off some upsets. Right now, I'm going to put them in the C tier, but I'm definitely going to keep my eye on them. Seattle Surge is a really interesting team for me. Right now, I think I put them in this C tier. They have to go behind the Gorillas after losing a close match to them. I really do like their roster upgrades, building around Octane, adding Gunless, Pristini, Looney. I really think this team can actually win events. I know that statement might shock some people, but I definitely think if we were on LAN, this roster specifically on LAN, I think could really pull off some crazy upsets. For some reason, they don't seem to be performing as well as we might think. I've noticed that they haven't been doing that well in scrims. I think they've gotten a little better lately, but we'll have to wait and see. This team does have kind of a weird mix of personalities, and I think the vibes are definitely going to play into their performance. Right now, I'm going to put them in the C tier, but I definitely could see them move up later on in the year. And then on to our last team, the Toronto Ultra. I think I have to put them in the B tier here with the Rocker. It was a really, really close match they had. I think they have a pretty good roster. Again, just like the Rocker, I think that they're going to win probably about as many matches as they lose. They definitely have some upset potential, but nothing too crazy in terms of consistently winning events. So now that we have all 12 teams in the tiers, I'm going to start with the S tier and we're going to move down the list and we're going to order the teams in each tier as well as make adjustments where I see that I need to. Starting with the S tier, I think we have it right. The S tier should be reserved for these two teams right now. The Dallas Empire and Optic Chicago are the best teams in the league. I think if I had to choose one team, like who is the one team that I would go with to win an event right now, I would say the Empire. Optic is definitely on their heels and could even be over them right now, but I'm going to go for right now that the Empire is just a little bit better than the Optic Chicago right now. Onto the A tier, I have the Atlanta FaZe, just a smidge better than the Florida Mutineers. I know the Mutineers technically did beat them in the Kickoff Classic, but it was a 3-2 very close game, and I just can't get over Atlanta FaZe's talent. I'm not going to throw too much weight in what I've seen from one show match. I'm going to wait to see what happens when the league actually starts. Right now, I'm going to say that they're very close, but Atlanta FaZe just a little bit better. Onto the B tier, the average teams in the league. I think I like having the LA Thieves out in front here. The Rocker did beat the Ultra, so I do like this order. I think these three teams belong here. The LA Thieves, I think, could go up here in the A tier, but I want to put more teams towards the middle and less teams towards either extreme. So I'm going to put them right in the beginning of the B tier, and then the Rocker and the Ultra very close to each other towards the other side of the B tier. Now on to the teams that I think right now are below average in terms of the league. I think the LA Gorillas are probably the best team in this tier from what we've seen so far. They did end up beating the Seattle Surge. Paris did win their match. So I think I'm going to go with this order. Los Angeles, the best team in the C tier. Paris close behind him, and then Surge behind them. And then down here in this D tier, I think I'm going to have to go with this order. The New York Subliners didn't win a map. The Royal Ravens did. I don't expect New York to be down here at the bottom of the league the whole year. They definitely had a tough stretch so far, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them move up a couple tiers as we actually see them play with their new roster. But for right now, I'm going to have to throw them in the D tier. Sorry, New York Subliners fans, but we don't have much to go on right now. But yeah, guys, this is my tier list. Let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Let me know what your tier list is. I'm really excited to see the league kick off on February 11th. It's really close. I want to see these guys play some actual matches that count. If you did enjoy the video, please do leave it a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. I'll likely be doing more of these tier ranking videos throughout the season. If you want to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, please do follow my socials. My Twitter and Twitch live stream are on the screen. And if you're interested in joining the Wolfpack Discord, the link is in the description below. But yeah, guys, that's it for the video. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.